Good evening, everybody. Good morning and good afternoon, I guess, wherever you are. I think I've just about covered all possible time zones by saying that. So welcome to episode number 101. I'm not going to keep count, by the way, after this, because I will more than likely lose count. I'm only worked out that we got to show 100 because that's how many shows there are in the playlist right now. So it's the only way I have been able to work out exactly what number show we are on. But I'm not going to keep saying it every week because I will get it wrong. Invariably. It's just what will happen. So anyway, a very good morning, very good evening, and very good afternoon to everybody, and welcome to Sunday Night Live with me, Jonny Lipsham, at Jonny Lipsham Studios in Edinburgh in Scotland in the UK. Hope everybody has had a great week. I have had a bizarre week. Let's just put it like that. Just about everybody in the entire family has been sick. So I have had to pretty much scrap everything I had planned for this week in its entirety. So I have not been able to get anything done for anybody this week, let alone my own work for my own business. Just haven't been able to do anything at all because everybody has been sick. So I've been looking after that and trying to keep everything clean and tidy as well, which is, a challenge when everybody's not well. So anyway, that's kind of my story, and that's why tonight's show is kind of not exactly well thought through or planned at all, really, because I've been managing sick people all day and getting to church and playing bass because there was nobody else that could do it, so I had to go and do that because I like to serve my church community in that way. So that's what I did this morning, and then came pretty much straight home and straight back to it. So today's show is a little bit ad hoc. I gotta say, so I'm sorry about that. I would normally have something to say, something profound to say, or something to demonstrate, and I don't really have anything particularly profound with which to talk about, other than how do we manage our work when things aren't going well? How do we make sure that we get done what we need to get done and that we meet deadlines, either self-imposed deadlines or deadlines for clients, when things aren't going so well? So maybe I will talk about that for a little bit in a moment, and I'd be very glad of your input and your thoughts and your ideas and your suggestions in the chat, as well as your questions, of course, which we'll get to in a little while. About I squashed about 3 words together there and came out with something new. I'm not sure what it was, but anyway, so let's see. Carl is talking about ships. And Johnny Gibe is here. He says, happy 100th show. 100th show was last week, my dear friend. And this week is the 101st show. But thank you. I very much appreciate the fact that we've got to a century of shows in a very short space of time, actually. And it has been incredible, actually. That I can go back to show number 1, and which I did do this week, just because everybody was sick. I thought, you know what, I'm going to watch some of my old live streams and just kind of see how far I've come, and how much better my streams are now than they were back then. And they are considerably better now than they were back then. But the cool thing is that there are people here in the chat tonight who were there on that first show. And you guys have been through every show with me, and you've watched me freeze inexplicably. You've watched me say things without moving my mouth. You've put up with me trying to demonstrate something in Studio One when A, it's in mono, and B, it's garbled. And you've learned something from it. Heaven only knows how, but you did. And you always had good things to say. So thank you very much to every single person that has been to one of my shows, or is even here tonight. I know that there are some people who were here in the early days who are no longer coming to my shows and haven't been for some time, which is a shame. But yeah, there were good times, man, and I don't miss the days of freezing and pixelation and mono and garbled sound. I don't miss that at all. But I'm very, very glad that yeah, thanks, Jonny. Yeah, I'm very glad that we've got this far, and everything is so much better. Hopefully, as the digital quality, the picture and the audio quality has improved, I hope that what you get out of the shows has improved as well, and what I bring to the shows has improved as well. Because certainly going forward, these live streams are going to become more and more important, and to what I do as my business, and they're going to become more and more important that I provide good content in these shows. So it's not just an opportunity for you guys to meet me, which it is, and for you guys to ask your questions to me, which it most certainly is, but I want it to be more than that as well. So I'm looking at ways in which I can improve this show, and I am absolutely, definitely wanting your suggestions and your ideas for ways in which we can make this Sunday Night Live even better. I'm tinkering around the edges a little bit, so as you all know, I'm kind of relaunching my business a bit in November. And it's going to have a new website. There's going to be a VIP members area as well. And so all the branding is going to change. And the whole look of everything is going to change. So the look of this show is going to change as well. But I really want to improve the content and what you guys want to learn and what you guys want to get out of this show. So, hey, maybe that's the topic for tonight, huh? We can spitball some ideas. Good thing to do, as much as putting the ideas in the chat is a great idea, because when I watch it back and I watch the replay, I can make notes. I can write down or copy paste what I see in the chat into a text document. But also email me as well. If you've got ideas, email me. Because this, Sunday Night Live is not about me. Okay, that's the most important thing. This is not about me. This is about you. And this is your show. It's for you. It's not for me. This is for you. And how I can serve you. That's what this is about. So, it's very much you-centered and not me-centered. I don't want to be kind of spending a lot of time, trying to pluck things out of the air or anything like that, or kind of give you stuff that you're not interested in, because that's bad for everybody. So I want to give you the kind of content that is of interest and of value to you guys. So I need your help a little bit with that. Okay, so that would be that. Now, I'm going to just close that's appeared on my laptop. I don't know what that is. It's not a scary pop-up, don't worry. I am going to go to the top, and the very first person who was in was Tony Stringert. He was here 40 minutes before showtime. which is very, very cool. He was the first, as soon as pretty much I put the whole thing up into, because I put it up about an hour before showtime onto my channel. It goes up and then it's just kind of sat there waiting until I hit the go live button. And Tony was the first person here. So Tony must be getting notifications, which is great. Let's see. Thomas Merkelson is here. And Kyle, I mentioned earlier, who says, interestingly enough, another half month gone, so damn fast. Yeah, you're not kidding. This September has gone ridiculously fast already. My kids are back at school. They've been back at school since August. And already I'm thinking, hey, you know what? We are fast approaching half term already. It's crazy. Let's see. Ken, my good buddy Ken Moss is here. He is one of my moderators, as is Mike Neighbor and Jonny Guibe. They are my 3 moderators, and I'm very, very grateful for them being here, because it means that they can help me catch things I might miss. Or if there's a question that I miss, they can bring that to the fore, bring that to my attention. Let's see who else is here. Bobby Booth is here, of course. Can't do the show without Bobby. That is for sure. And my good friend Rainer in Germany is here now. For Rainer, this will be like 1:15 in the morning for him. So Rainer, thank you so much. And anybody else actually that is in Western Europe. I've had a couple of emails about this actually, where some of my European subscribers have said, hey, it'd be really nice if we had an earlier show that we can all be part of, because 1 o'clock in the morning, and the further east you go, it gets later and later. And I've got some people who are like 3 hours ahead of the UK time who are saying, hey, that's 3 o'clock in the morning for me, and that's not so easy for me to get to, but I want to be able to get involved and be in the chat and everything. So I am thinking about that, and I would like to hear from more of you if you are in Europe. If you are 1, 2, or 3 hours ahead of UK time, I want to hear from you, and see if we can find a way in which I can serve you. Maybe not with Sunday Night Live, but maybe something that I can do for you guys. So yes, please do email me, and maybe even suggest a time that would be good to try and get as many of that 3 hour window covered. Okay, so that would be good if you could do that. And of course, Jonny Guibe, as I say, is here. Who else do we have? We have RJ Hagler is here. And he says, hands across the water on a Sunday night. Hello, Jonny and group. Oh, I like that. Hands across the water on a Sunday night. That's great. Because I know an awful lot of you guys are in America, Canada, and, the other side of the Atlantic, basically. So that is very cool. Jonny says, 20 watching now. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. Especially when we consider that our good friend Dave Vignola is doing a live mixing thing over on his channel right now at the same time, which is very cool. Actually, the series that he is doing with this particular song is really, really good. And if you are a subscriber of his, I heartily recommend that you go and see if you can get hold of the multi-track files and mix this song. I think you need to be a member of mixingmadeeasy.net to get them, but gotta tell you, it's a good one, and it'll be fun to mix. You'll enjoy it. I know that I'm going to go and get those multi-track files and mix it as well, so very well worth doing. So please do take note of that. And have I got to the bottom yet? No. Kirk is here. Kirk McWright says, hi folks, sorry I haven't been around much lately, but I'm here now. Well, you know what? We are very glad to have you back amongst us, Kirk. Thank you. Thank you for coming tonight. Really appreciate you being here. Let's see. Just Bob says, why not 9 a.m. Central, 3 p.m. your time? Um, Mostly because my kids are still up and about at that time, and you know it'll be less easy to do the show. Hang on, my headphone cable is tangled up. It'll be less easy to do my show then. I guess kind of why I chose midnight is because it's kind of early evening for you guys in America, and also everybody in this house is sound asleep, so works for me in that respect. But I'm aware I need to kind of maybe do something earlier once a month, maybe that I can just do just for the European folks. That's a thought that is rattling around in my head right now, and there's not very much room for things to rattle around in my head. So, but it is definitely doing that. But that's a good idea. Thank you. Ken says, show starts for me on the Eastern time zone of 7 p.m. Yep. And an earlier show on a Sunday would be fine with me. Okay, that's something I can definitely think about. Maybe we could shove the show back a wee bit. I don't know. It depends what you guys do on Sundays. You know, some of you will be at church. And having an earlier show might just get in the way of that, and I don't want to get in the way of kind of those kind of things that you do on a Sunday. So I need to bear all of that in mind. So anyway, please do keep the suggestions coming and email me if you want as well. That'd be great as well. And I think I'm at the bottom. John Lake is here. He says, late again, I was walking the dog. Not code for anything. Yeah, you know what? I hadn't actually thought of that, but now that you say that it's not code for anything, that tells me that it might be code for something. I have a suspicion that you work for the CIA or something like that, or the FBI, in which case I'd better go and run and hide. I don't want the feds on me today. All right, so now that we've got through the chat there. So I am busy. I'm busy working on rebranding everything at the moment, and it's going really well. I've got some great graphics, and I've got a brand new logo which looks awesome, super awesome, and you guys are going to love it when you see it. If you are not on my email list, go to the description box down below. There's a link down there. Get yourself on it for two reasons. Number one, you get regular emails from me, which you may or may not want. Number two, you get some multi-track files from my song Chanel, and you can mix that song if you want. And I know a number of you have done it, and some of you have sent me MP3s for me to listen to of the mixes, and you guys are good. You guys are very good. So yes, you get that. You also get my compression series, which it is on YouTube. That series, but you get it, you can download it and have it on your computer and be able to play it without annoying adverts and things like that. Plus, you get to keep it forever, and if I decide, I might just get rid of that series, I might just delete it off of YouTube and replace it with something else, you've always got that. Okay, so that's that. You do get that. Plus, also, if you're on my email list, you will be the first people to get to look at the new website, the new branding, and you'll get a guided tour of the VIP members area as well before anyone else does. So before I launch to the public, you guys will get to see it. So that would be cool if you could do that. And the other thing I ought to have checked, actually, because I haven't since I started, is am I loud enough? Because according to OBS, I'm really quiet. So I'm just wanting to check if my volume is good. Because if it's not, I can turn it up. Maybe I'll turn up here anyway. Let's see what you guys have to say on that point. Bob T is here. He says, hello, folks. Hey, Bob. Good to see you, mate. So hopefully audio is okay, and I should have checked. and I didn't. Let's just go and see what's going on. We've got about 23 people here, which is awesome. Now down to 22. Oh, Jonny says I'm very quiet. Okay. Yeah, I'm aware that when I turn my face away from the mic, I go quiet. I'm aware of that much. Kirk says at good volume. Bobby says okay here. No problems here, says Kyle. Sounds great, says Just Bob. So the only person that's reporting it being very quiet is Jonny. And he says, I always have OBS meters right at the red. Oh, do you? Okay, that's interesting to note. I am occasionally popping into the red, but not entirely. Hang on. Okay, let's see if that... I've turned it up a little bit. And I've turned my output from the monitor station up a little bit as well. So hopefully that's better. Okay, Jonny says, not just when you turn away. Okay, well, I've turned it up a wee bit now, and according to my interface, we're peaking at -12, roughly, I think. Let's turn that up a little bit more. Okay, there, how's that? Hopefully that's better. Jonny says, when a commercial plays, it's a lot louder. Okay, that's good to know. I should have checked that before we started. All right, so now that we've got some of those kind of things, news things that I wanted to talk about out of the way, let's get your questions, actually. And Jonny says, that's much better. Cool. Okay, good. Good. Let's get your questions. And... we can talk music theory, we can talk songwriting, we can talk, I know kind of Jonny and I do songwriting simplified on Wednesday, but yes, we can talk about that. We can talk about arranging, we can talk about mixing, we can talk about mastering, we can talk about all of that. Let me just take a swig of my very strong Scottish tea. Product placement there as well. Oh, crap. Smack the mug into the mic, why don't you? There we go, and I swore as well. Yay! Alrighty, so let's have your questions, folks. If you don't have any questions, it'll be a very short show tonight. So, because it's coming up on 25 past the hour, so we're just under halfway through. And it'd be great if we got some more questions. Let's have a look. John says, for the new branding, think cat in the background with a cowbell. Sounds good in the USA. Okay, that's cool. Jonny asks, how do you handle output file volume? How do I handle output file volume? If you're referring to what do I aim for in terms of mastering? I aim for a kind of rough area, actually, of round about -14 LUFS is what I aim for. And I use the level meter in the project page and all of that. I look at all of that. You can set that to LUFS and it works great. And then my final checkpoint really is to run it through Ian Shepherd's loudnesspenalty.com. Run it through that website and it shows you kind of what your what the streaming services will do to your mix, your master, I should say. Whether they'll turn it down, whether they'll turn it up, what they'll do. And I'm looking for those sort of 5 major streaming services, I'm looking for them to hardly do anything to it at all. Turning up is, I don't worry if they're going to turn my mix up. I don't worry about that too much. But if they're going to turn me down, I don't want them to be turning me down by much more than 1 to 1.5 dB. So, which is why I aim for roughly around about minus 14 LUFS as my final output for my masters. And so, if it's an album that I'm doing, that I'm mastering, then I'm very careful to make sure that each song outputs to that level, minus 14 LUFS. Because I know that I'm going to be in that area and things are not going to get turned up or turned down too terribly much. You know, like maybe a dB here or a dB there. And you know what? Nobody's going to notice 1 dB. You know, most people are not going to notice 1 dB plus minus of difference. They're just not. So that's kind of what I aim for, to be honest. I hope that answers your question, Johnny. Let's see. Raina asks, do I use Pipeline? I don't use Pipeline, mostly because I don't have any external hardware. If I had something like one of the Warm Audio 1176 compressors, which I would love to get my hands on, by the way, or one of their Neve pre's, one of their Neve 1073 preamp clones, then yes, something like that I may well use Pipeline for, so I can run my audio out through the compressor and back into Studio One. I would definitely use it for that, but otherwise, at the moment, no, I don't use it. Okay, Johnny was talking about mixed down volume. Yes, so minus 14 LUFS, that's kind of my ballpark. If I'm in that area, I know it's going to be good. So yeah. Steve is here. Good to see you, Steve Louth. And he says, why don't you drink Yorkshire tea? Oh, great question. Why don't I drink Yorkshire tea? You know, I like Yorkshire tea. It's very, very nice indeed. It's not that I don't drink it. It's just at the moment we have a great big huge box of Scottish tea in the cupboard right now. So we're making our way through those. There's about 1,000 tea bags in the box. So that's going to take me a few weeks. There you go. That gives you some idea how much tea I drink. It's going to take me just a few weeks to get through a box of 1,000 tea bags. But yeah, I do like Yorkshire tea. And in fact, just before we got this box of Scottish tea, I did have a wee box of Yorkshire tea. Yorkshire tea is very, very nice. Very silky smooth. Lovely taste to it. There you go. Let's see. James says, how do you rate the PreSonus headphones? They are great. I've actually done a video, which you can find on this channel, which I did for PreSonus, actually, to review these and... see if I can get them off. And these guys here. These are the HD9s. And these are great for tracking. So when you're recording, these are perfect because they are, as you can see, closed backed. So nothing bleeds out of these guys. And the seals are really, really good. And they are very, very comfortable on your head. And to be honest, you can wear these for hours and not really be aware of the fact that you're wearing them. The only issue I had with these, and I made mention of it in the video, is that if you wear glasses like me, the trouble with these ones is they tend to kind of push in a little bit at the side of your head, which pushes the arms of your glasses into your head a wee bit. And that puts some pressure on the bridge on your nose. So you end up with a bit of a sore nose after a while. But other than that, the HD9s are really great for recording. HD7s are a different ball game altogether because they are semi-open backs. So they've got kind of, I don't know if you can see here, they've got these little holes in the back of this side here. And what that is you know, some of that extra low end can escape out of the headphones, and that means that you don't get that massive bass build-up that you normally get in a lot of closed back headphones. For recording, that's not a problem. You're not worried about that. But for mixing, you need to make sure that you have a nice flat neutral balance of the frequency spectrum, so that you can get an honest sound going into your ears, so you can make an honest mix. These guys do that really well. Now, considering these are actually absurdly cheap for what they are, and it's funny that, because a lot of PreSonus gear, for the quality you get, they are absurdly cheap. Even the higher end stuff, like their Series 3 mixers, for what you actually get, they are absurdly cheap. And they are phenomenally good. Most PreSonus gear is really, really good. And I've never had any issues with them. I know some people have. Some people have maybe had a dodgy unit. I've been really lucky so far that everything that I have had from PreSonus has just worked out of the box. So the HE7s are great for mixing, and they really sound good. They really sound good, and they're really light on your head. And again, the seals are good, and they're great for mixing on. And if you've not got a good room in your house, or wherever you have your studio set up, if you've not got a good room, these are really good because they just totally take the room out of the equation. You don't have to worry about having not having an acoustically treated environment, and yet you can still get a good mix because these guys are good. But they're also very versatile. I have used these for recording as well. You just have, if you're recording, you just have to turn the volume down just a little bit so you eliminate at least some of the bleed. But even then, you don't really get a lot of bleed out the side of these, even though they've got these kind of open parts. They're actually really, really good for recording as well. So they are good all-round headphones that you can use in the studio and get a lot of mileage out of. So I rate them very highly, and as I said in my video, the best thing to do, in my opinion, if you're going to buy PreSonus headphones, don't just get the HD7s, get the 9s as well. Buy them as a pair. I'm actually genuinely surprised that PreSonus are not offering them as a pair, because I think that would be a great deal. A good price, and buy the HD7s, get the HD9s a little bit cheaper, or something like that would be a great little marketing thing for shifting their headphones, in my opinion. I think lots of people would jump on that. So, but as far as I know, that's not happening. Other vendors, you might get something like that. But even if that's not available, I would say just splash the extra few notes and get them both. That's what I've done, and they are a great idea. So there you go. I hope that helps. Steve says, I use Audio-Technica. Oh yeah, they are great headphones. I'm definitely not going to knock Audio-Technicas. Or Sennheisers. Actually, Sennheiser headphones are really good as well. Sennheiser are good because they make really good microphones, but they also make some of the best headphones for mixing on the planet. Those HD, what are they called? The 650s are outstanding headphones. They are not cheap. I'll say it again. They are not cheap, but you know what? They are extremely good. I have used them, not in this studio because I don't have them, but there is a studio the other side of town where I go and do sessions relatively frequently, and they use Sennheiser headphones. They've got some kind of deal with Sennheiser for headphones, so those are the ones that I use when I'm over there. Rainer says the open headphones from PreSonus look the same as the AKG K240 Mark IIs. They do a bit, don't they? The coloring is different and the branding is different, obviously, but it may well be that they share the same manufacturer, possibly. They're made in the same factory. I don't know. Possible. There's some people that say that the Focusrite 2-channel interface looks just like the AudioBox i2. There's distinctive similarities between those two devices. Yeah, probably are. Similarities is what I'd say they are. And I don't think it goes any further than that, really. Rainer says, for mixing, I use the Band Dynamic DT 1990 Pros. Band Dynamic are another really good company as well. But I have no knowledge of their headphones at all. So the only other headphones I have is a set of what are they? They're about 30 years old. I just don't remember the manufacturer. I'm gonna have to look. I'll have to dig them out of my cupboard. But they're about 30 years old, and I think they are made in the same factory that the Sony headphones get made in. But yeah, those are my other closed back headphones, which I use for recording as well. So if I've got a good number of people in here, I've got a fair few sets of the PreSonus headphones, and I've got a couple of these other Japanese headphones. I can't remember what they're called. Any other questions, folks? But that was a good question about headphones. Absolutely. Headphones are really important. Because you need to rely upon them for accuracy when you're recording as well as when you're mixing. And they need to not just sound good, but feel good on your ears and your head as well. Just Bob asks, I recently went wireless for guitar and was demoed on Jonny Give's show. Yes, I saw that. If you don't want to go wireless, what guitar cables do you recommend and why? Well, I'm not really a guitar player, to be honest. I do play guitar badly. I know some very weird sounding chords, and that's pretty much as far as my guitar playing goes, really. I have some very cheap cables that I use for my guitar, and they go well. But I will show you the what I use in my bass. Hang on. Because cabling for my bass I can speak to a little bit more than I can guitars. So here's what I don't know if you can hear me. I should sit down again because I'm not sure you can hear me. But here's what I use for my bass. These are whirlwind cables. And I've used whirlwind cables for a long time with my basses. And even the pickup for the upright bass. I use whirlwinds, and these are really, really good quality cables. They are pretty much noise free. So I would recommend these. They are inexpensive. I mean, they're not like super cheap, but they are definitely inexpensive. And they sound good, and all the connectors are really well made, and they're really sturdy. These aren't going to break too terribly easy, which is important for me playing bass. And probably would be important for me playing guitar if I actually played very much, which I don't really. I have my guitar here for a couple of reasons I have a guitar. Most of the reason why I have a guitar is not to do with learning how to play guitar at all. It's more I need to be able to check that certain chord voicings that I like and that I make use of in my songs, how easily they are playable on the guitar. So that I can come up with alternative voicings for guitar that then I can just write out for session guitar players when I bring them in to play on my tunes. Because I don't dare play guitar on my own songs. I have a couple of times. There's been a couple of songs where I've done a little bit of guitar playing. Like the instrumental piece I did, the brass band piece I did called Softly Spoken. I play guitar on that. I play guitar, I play bass, I play guitar, upright bass, piano, and I play drums on that. And then the brass band was the PreSonus Symphonic Orchestra. pretty much. And the soloist was my good friend Luke Richards playing flugelhorn on that tune. But I played my trusty Ibanez guitar on that song. And it was easy enough for me. Because it was very much in the background and buried, I was just like doing the occasional strum here and there. I can do that on my own songs, but I wouldn't really do anything major on my own songs because that's just not going to sound very good. And I'll get found out. Whirlwind cables, yes. Kirk says Whirlwind value are top notch. Yes, they are. Yes, and Steve says Whirlwind cables are great, and that's what I use. Yes, I've used Whirlwind cables for a long time. I can't remember how I got into using them, but I don't know. It's got to be over 20 years, 25 years maybe. And it's just those are just the cables I get. You know, if a cable kind of starts to show signs of wear and tear, and I start getting noise, then I just sling them, and go and get new ones. And I order them online, is what I do nowadays. But you know, I used to just go straight down to somewhere like the Guitar or the Guitar Center or something like that, and just go and I knew exactly what I needed to get. Something that's like 6 meters long, and that's what I use. Something that's either 3 or 6 meters. Now, this is my 3 meter one that I use in church because I'm in church. I don't need much more than 3 meters. I'm not going to be, you know, prancing about the stage. And hey, I'm a jazz bass player. I don't tend to prance about the stage too terribly much, but so I don't really need more than 3 meters. But you know, for gigs, I'll take a 6 meter cable because you just never know where I'm going to be, and I like to walk about. I don't know why. I don't know when that started, but I like to walk about. Okay, so there we go. That's those. So that's those. I hope that helps. Let's see. John Lake, that's a great question. Somebody mentioned that so many people listen on earbuds, that we should mix to them. Makes sense. You know what? That is a great point. And I'll tell you why it's great. Hang on, I'm just going to put these back on. There's a reason why that is a great point. And that's this. I wouldn't say necessarily mix on them, but I would say that you should have a quality control or a quality assurance system, which is, excuse me, which is what I have. I check my mix before I send it off to the client. I check my mix on these, on my Presonus RSE5s, and then I check them on some smaller, crappy Logitech computer monitors. And then I actually do check them on these, because I know that the low end is a bit different on these guys. This is going to be a little bit closer to kind of like commercial listening headphones. So I'll check them on these. Oops. But I also have hundreds of different pairs of earbuds. From Apple, from Samsung for my Samsung phone. I've got like maybe 10 or 20 pairs of those things. And so I basically take like 3 random pairs and I plug them into my monitor station here. And I balance all the levels so they are all sending out the mix exactly the same level, and I test them on each set, because each set of earbuds is going to be a little bit different. So having a different set plugged into the monitor station means that I'm going to be able to listen to the different variations on those 3 different earbuds. So that's like 9 different environments that I listen to it on. And then in the lounge, we've got a stereo system which has Bluetooth capability. So I put my mix onto my phone, and then I pair my phone to the stereo via Bluetooth, and it plays the mix on that system. And if it sounds good in there, and it sounds good on the earbuds, I know I've pretty much nailed the mix. And I'm happy with it. Because the thing with earbuds is they will expose how well you've handled the mid-range. If your mix sounds really harsh in the mid-range and brittle, then you know you need to go back to your mix and dial those areas back a bit. Particularly things like guitars, and the nasally frequencies in a vocal, you need to go tame those a bit. And then you reprint the mix and you check it all again. And then, once everything sounds good and clear and crisp and clean, not harsh, not brittle, not too thin, nice and warm in the low mids, nice and well-rounded in the lows, but not overwhelming everything, then you know you've got it. So that's my quality assurance system that I have set up. Does add a little bit of extra time at the end, but you know what? It's worth it, because it means once I've sent that draft mix to the client, more often than not, they're going to come back and say, this is great. That's exactly what I want. You've nailed it first time. And so, which is what I aim for. I aim to nail the mix on the first time, because that means I'm not having to do a revision. And it also means that, because I get paid by the project, it means I've invested less time in the project, which means, fundamentally the hourly rate is better, so I get, a better, what's the word I'm looking for? A better exchange, I guess. So, yeah, that would be that. Let's see. James says, if I recall correctly, you mentioned Audified Mix Checker plugin. I've been considering purchasing it, but iLok is not my favorite system. I have mentioned it because I know that there are a few people out there that I trust that do use it. People like Dave Vignola, he does use it. Graham Cochran uses it. And it's good. It's a perfectly valid plugin, and it's a perfectly valid idea. And from what I've heard good things about it. It really does, give you a way to have that quality assurance without actually having to plug in lots of different things into your monitoring system. And but at the end of the day, you have to remember that it's a digital emulation of what those sources sound like. It may not be 100% accurate, may not be 100% correct, because they're going to be generic. The stereo system is going to be just a generic, hey, this is what a stereo system might generically sounds like. Or, the car listening experience, they will have just picked a generic car sound for that. So, I still think that the car test is a valid one. I really do. Go for a drive. Burn your mix onto a CD, put it on the CD player in the car, or, if it's MP3 in your car, use the MP3 USB input, use that and go for a drive and see how it sounds. Not just sat stationary in the car, but when you're on the move. How does the mix sound when you've got road noise and everything else going on? Does it sound good? Or does it get overwhelmed by the road noise? And then compare it to other CDs that you have in your car, or other things that are on your MP3 playlist. Compare it. Compare it to a reference track in your car. How does it stand up? I think that's a great idea. The Audified Mix Checker is good, and I agree with you on iLok. I'll show you where my iLok is. Hang on. Here's my iLok. It's not even plugged into my computer. So there you go. That tells you what I think of iLok. Yes, Ken, I've just mentioned that. I think how important is passing the car test? I think it's a good thing to do. I mean, if you can do it with earbuds, with, different headphones, with, and also, some crappy little computer speakers, I think you're good. I don't think you necessarily need to do the car test, but I still think the car test has some validity. Because a lot of people, that's their listening experience. If it's not on earbuds, it's in the car. So, if the mix sounds good on earbuds, probably it's going to sound fine in the car. Probably. Because they'll have similar things going on. Like, a lot of car amplifiers, they hype the bass. Because a lot of people want that, in a commercial stereo. They want lots of hyped bass. Well, your mix, if your mix is very, very well rounded in the low end, it might just blow out your speakers because, with the hype bass, it may end up with you've just got too much low end. So I think the car test is still a valid one. Let's see, what else do we have here? Bobby says, James, you just need an iLok account and get the Mix Checker Pro. Yes. Yes, I have iLok as well. And Mike Neighbor is here from Peace Valley Audio. He says, hello, hey, good to see you, buddy. I hope you're doing okay. I know you've been through a lot recently, and you've had a tough time of late, but I'm not going to go through that publicly because I'm sure you don't want me to, and I don't think it'd be very fair if I did. But suffice to say, I hope you're doing well. And you're hanging tough. But I'm very glad you're here, catching the end of the show, because we're going to wrap it up in about, 7 minutes. So that's about all we've got time for, just about 7 minutes to go. Kyle is out of here, says, night all, I have to run. Well, thank you very much for coming. Kirk says, I wouldn't suggest mixing with earbuds, but certainly would check my mix through them. Yes, absolutely. Let's see. Just Bob said, supposedly Aerosmith mixed Pump using a car stereo as a mixed balance reference. Is that true? Wow. And Mike says he's just popping in. Well, that's great. Thank you, mate. I really appreciate you being here. It's very cool that you are. Steve asks, what organ VST do you use, if any? I need a good one. I don't use one, and I'll tell you why I don't use one, because I have this. Let's move. Let's do that. Do that. Do that. Do that. No, I don't have an organ VST because I have a Clavier Nord that has a Hammond organ and Leslie simulator built in. There you go. A little bit of Hammond. So I have this. Now, granted, this is a lot more expensive than a VST plugin. So there are some really good ones out there. Native Instruments do one called the B4, I think. And I have certainly used that one. And I do recommend that as an option. There are a few out there, actually, that you can get. But the good thing about this is it doesn't just do a Hammond organ. It does a Vox, Farcifer. What else does it do? I can't remember. Hang on. a bit more of your pipe kind of organ. Which is very different. And we got some donations. Bobby Booth with $2. Thank you very much, Bobby. I appreciate it. You are awesome, my friend. You have been on every show. I think you've been to every single one, actually. So this is your 101st show as much as it is mine. So I appreciate that. And Johnny Guy with $25. And he says, for all you do and have done for me, Johnny, you are very generous and very kind. Thank you very much. And you know what? It is a pleasure to support you and, be a part of Home Studio Trainer and all that you do. I consider it a real honor that I am a part of what you do. I very much appreciate your support and your encouragement, because I wouldn't, you know what? Let's be real honest here. I wouldn't be making videos and I wouldn't be doing this live stream if you hadn't encouraged me to do it. And actually, if you hadn't helped me get my setup right so that I could do it. The fact that I can actually now do it is because of your encouragement and your help and your support. I wouldn't be doing this otherwise. So, dude, it goes both ways. It really does. And I thank you very much. Because I couldn't do what I do without you being involved in it, to be honest. So thank you. And Face is here, and he says, Johnny, way to go. Yeah, absolutely. Ken says, I have the Arturia V6 collection. The B3 is great, but their update does not play well with Studio One. Oh, I'm sorry about that, dude. Interface GUI is just a red screen. Oh, no. Well, that's a pain. Bobby says, go to VST for free. They may have some. I've never heard of them, actually. Might be a good option. Just Bob says, the VL122 free VST plugin, Spinet Hammond organ. Oh, there's a good one. Johnny says that's very cool of you to say. Absolutely, buddy. Chris Howard with question of the evening. Who says, how hard are bagpipes to play? Generally speaking, of course. Here's the thing about bagpipes. Like the oboe, they are a double reed instrument. But here's the interesting thing. Not only is it a double reed instrument, it is a double reed instrument because it has two. It has one that you blow directly into, and then further down the chanter, there is a second reed. So you have two reeds. Two double reeds, in fact, going into it. And bagpipes have an unusual fingering system. It's not like clarinet, and it's not like saxophone. It's quite distinctively different. I think when you have the embouchure right, you have to have a very, very tight embouchure, much like for playing oboe. You have to have a very small, very tight embouchure. When you got past that point, it probably becomes a little bit easier to then go ahead and learn the fingering, and you do that on the chanter part of the bagpipes, because the bagpipes is, you've got the bag, then you've got the pipes, of which 3 are drone pipes, as in they don't actually change pitch, they are a constant, and then you have I think you have 1, maybe 2 melody pipes, that when you pass air through the chanter and into the bag system and out through the pipes, it goes to those melody pipes, and that's how you hear the notes change. But you also have to master the art of when you breathe, you allow the bag to inflate, and then you force the air back through, so you get it's like you have to learn how to circular breathe, but with the bag providing the extra breath, so to speak. So you breathe, you exhale into the instrument, and then when you're done, you're already moving down with your elbow to squeeze the bag, and that's how you get that continuous sound. And it's a bit of an art to it, a bit of a technique to it. my two nephews who live through in Glasgow, they are both part of a pipe band that I think they are 2-time world champions, and in their division. They are 2-time world champions. And they're just kids. They're in their mid-teens, early teens, and so they're just kids, and they've been playing pipes for most of their lives. So you can start when you're 5, 6 years old, and go all the way through your life playing if you really want to, and you can become incredibly good at them. The older of my nephews, he is incredibly good. I think he's, he does solos as well, for which he's won a whole bunch of very high-profile awards as well. But yes, they are hard. Let's see. Kirk asks, do you control the Leslie speaker rotation speed during performance on your Nord or via foot pedal control knob? There's a button on the Nord, but yes, you can have a foot controller control it. You can have just a switch that switches it on or off, which incidentally on a real Hammond, there is just a thumb switch that switches it on or off. That's what you get on a real Hammond. So there is a button that simulates that on here. It'd be nice if the button was down here at the underneath the key bed. That'd be handy, because when you're playing, you want to be able to just, flick it with your thumb, which is what you would do on a real Hammond organ. Having played a real Hammond organ, that's kind of what you do. You kind of like flick it down to flick it on and then flick it off with your thumb. And that's how it works. Whereas with this, I have to reach up. So... And it's doable, but it's it's a bit more annoying. I have to stretch my little finger or stretch my middle finger on my left hand to reach it. But that's a good one. DB33 by Air is decent. Never heard of that one, but you might be right there. Mike says, congrats on reaching 3,000 subs, by the way. That's freaking awesome and well deserved. Thank you. And he says, I'll be in touch in a week or so. Cool. That's good. Good night, mate. Thanks for coming. Could I pick up bagpipes like, say, picking up flute? You could. There are YouTube videos out there that are well worth watching and learning from. It will take some time. It's more akin to learning a reed instrument than a flute, because flute's not really a reed. Flute isn't a reed instrument. It's you're blowing across the air hole on a flute, whereas you would have to. There is an embouchure that you have to learn for that, so you get a nice, clear, consistent tone. But when you're blowing a reed, you have to spend a lot of time learning how to get the tone right. So you spend a lot of time just making long notes to make sure you get the tone right to start with. I mean, that's where it is like like learning to play oboe or clarinet or saxophone or bassoon or something like that, where you spend a lot of time just making long notes. It's not very musical to start with, and in fact you're not really aiming to be playing music from day one. You're aiming to learn how to get the basic sound right first, and then once you've got the basic sound right, then you can start adding notes to that sound. But yeah, getting the tone right first and learning to breathe correctly is probably the first things that you would learn. And certainly with pipes, because you've got the complication of the bag, whereas if you're playing saxophone, you don't have that. When you run out of breath, you have to breathe in and breathe out through the horn again, unless you can circular breathe, in which case, no problem. But yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Chris, you're probably right. And Kirk says thanks for the explanation. You're welcome. You're very welcome. Okay, we are 6 minutes over time. Thank you very much, everybody, for some really good questions. Please do email me your suggestions for shows, topics that we can talk about, anything that you want me to demonstrate, a mixing technique, a recording technique, anything that you want me to show in Studio One, we can do that. We can devote a show to that. The more suggestions I get, the better the show will be, I think, personally, because I want the show to be about you guys and less about me kind of just talking. Okay? So please do email your suggestions, and I will start getting your suggestions made into either videos or into Sunday Night Lives. Okay? So if you guys are happy with that, I am happy with it too. And a few people are starting to leave. So on that point, I am going to do the same as well because I need to get to bed. But thank you, everybody. And Raina, I'm sure you also need to get yourself into bed, buddy. Because it's now, past 2 a.m. for you. You crazy, crazy guy. You really are. But thanks ever so much for coming, everybody, and I will see you on Wednesday for Songwriting Simplified with Jonny Gibe over on the Home Studio Trainer YouTube channel. And until then, folks, I bid you good night. Good night. And I've completely forgotten to press some buttons here. So let's do that. Good night, everybody. Bye.